Hi friends, welcome to another reading vlog. I'm not gonna lie, so far this year has been a really weird year of reading. I have finished 2 books so far, and then I just finished a Bible study from last year. But I started off just really weird. I've read not what I typically read. But my first book of the year, which honestly is a 4-star read for me, is Michelle Obama's memoir, Becoming. And it's kind of funny because I have had this book on my TBR wish list for so long. And then Ty and I, at one point last year, we were taking a walk around our town, and at one of the little libraries, they had this book, and I was like, I could not believe it. I have wanted to read this for so long, and I have almost bought it multiple times, and then I found it for free and just swapped it out in this little free library. I really enjoyed this one. As you can see, I did some annotating, but I did not know Michelle Obama's story at all, and honestly, it is very inspiring. Like, she is just such a hardworking woman, and she's very honest in her memoir about all the things that she's gone through. And I just find it so interesting to learn about people before they're famous, I guess. Like, I really get invested in people's stories. To read about her, like, growing up in Chicago with her family in this really small flat, basically. And then, like, eventually meeting Barack Obama and eventually falling in love with him and all the things. It's just crazy how her life went, like, the journey of her life. And I don't want to get political with this book review because I just don't think that's necessary. But I did really enjoy reading about, like, moving into the White House and just all the details about the staff that runs things in the White House, the details of moving into the White House, even the details of, like, traveling as the president and first lady. There's just a lot that I never thought of, and I honestly think that I owe Michelle Obama an apology because when she was first lady, one of her biggest things, like her goal, her ambition, was to work on health for people, like health and fitness for kids especially. She worked on the fight against childhood obesity. So when I was a kid, I experienced my schools getting rid of, like, sugary snacks, and the vending machine pop was replaced with sparkling and, like, flavored water. Me and my friends, and, like, honestly a lot of kids probably, started this thing where it was like, thanks Michelle Obama, because we were so mad that all the good things in our schools were taken out. Like, we weren't able to have sugar really. And then I remember, like, Disney Channel and Nickelodeon would have the hour where you had to go play outside or whatever. And so reading about her work in the memoir was also kind of funny because I lived through that, and as a child it was not fun, but as an adult I'm like, no, you're right, thank you for that. So I really enjoyed reading this, and it's so crazy to me that it was such a long time ago that Obama was president. It still does not feel that long, but it was like 2016 when it all ended. So that was just pretty crazy, and I, like I said, 4 stars, really enjoyed this. I always get really invested in memoirs, so this was a long one, but I was invested the whole time because I just really wanted to know Michelle Obama's story. Like I said, a weird pivot. I started with a memoir on a previous First Lady of the United States of America, and then I moved into a fiction book about a cult, and it's called Amity and Sorrow. Honestly, started off really strong, and this book actually came from my husband's grandma, so my grandma-in-law, and I was excited to read it. Every time I've talked to her about books, she has brought this one up, and so I was like, you know, my curiosity is piqued, I want to read it. It was just kind of weird. It was a little too weird for me, I think, but I stayed strong. I liked it at the beginning, but I couldn't tell the time frame of this book because it felt like it was right after the Great Depression, but then I read somewhere that it was supposed to be set basically like in modern day, but like nobody has cell phones. It's basically like a dust bowl. They're farming and they're just like growing beans, and they really like live on the land. And so I was like, when is this supposed to take place? It does not make any sense. And the cult that this book is written about, that Amity and Sorrow have run away from with their mom, is your normal, like, there's a patriarch and he basically just makes up rules for their society, and he leaves and brings back wives. And so I think by the end, like when the mom leaves, there's like 50 wives or something. And it's honestly darker than I expected. Like, there's other stuff going on and that is really dark and just really twisted and really sad. And I don't know, like, the first half of this book I liked and I was enjoying it, but then it felt like none of the characters were redeemable, and like there wasn't enough for me. I don't even know how to describe it, but like, the mom basically escapes the cult with her daughters, Amity and Sorrow. Amity is the younger one, and she is just very naive about the world around her, but she's just trying to understand what's going on. Sorrow is like messed up, needs to go away and like be locked up forever, because all she does in this book is cause issues and problems, and she's terrible. Like, she is just a menace to society. The mom is just very neglectful. Like, for most of the book, the girls are living on the porch, and then it's never addressed of like, if they get moved into the house, like, where are they sleeping? Are they still sleeping on the porch? No idea. And the mom just falls in love with the farmer of this land that they have like crashed their car, and then they end up on this farmer's land. And at first he's like, I want nothing to do with you, you guys can't stay here. But then the mom is like slowly falling in love with him, neglects her children, potentially they're sleeping on the porch of this house. And at another point, like, they find this locked room, and the farmer's dad is like locked in this room, and it's kind of bizarre. Like, the whole thing, even as I'm processing it, I'm like, what is this book? I gave it 3 stars because I did enjoy it, and like, I did read the whole thing, but then the ending is just so bad. Like, there's not a satisfying ending to this book at all, and I was honestly kind of livid because I was like, what is with this mom? Like, she just, I don't want to spoil it, but I'm just like, what what is this? And then I looked up the author, and I can't really find anything on her. I don't know if she's still writing. This is her first novel. I'm glad that I read it, but it was very interesting and intriguing, and of course, like, cult books are just always sick and twisted and you don't know what you're gonna get. But this one was just kind of odd. So 3 stars, but I don't know that I would recommend unless you want a very unsatisfying ending. Currently, I am reading In Case You Missed It by Lindsay Kelk, and so far so good. I just decided to go back to like the safe space of reading a romance. It's a British romance, so the author is British. It's set in London. So there's been some language that I'm like, what? What does that mean? Like, I don't say those things. Overall, it's been good so far. Hopefully redeemable after Amity and Sorrow. Like, I just need another book to get me into reading, and I decided to read that one. First of all, I want to apologize because this video has turned fully into book reviews. I haven't even sat and read and filmed it in a very long time. So I left off reading In Case You Missed It by Lindsay Kelk, and honestly, I was so surprised by this book. Like, I thought that this would be an average 3-star read, and I didn't have high hopes. It was mostly just to get me back into reading after kind of feeling a slump. Whenever that happens, I'm like, a good old romance. And I absolutely love when the hidden subplots of a romance end up connecting with my personal life, and then it's like, this book just means so much more to me than what I thought it would. And Emily Henry is a great example of that. I feel like every time I read her books, I'm sitting down thinking that I'm gonna read a romance novel, and then next thing I know, I'm like crying with the main character because the things that she's learning and dealing with are so similar to like what I'm facing or my feelings, whatever. I ran into that with this one, and it was very hidden and not expected by any means possible. The main character, Ross, actually is back in London after living in America for 3 years, and when she comes back, she finds that all of her friends have moved on and they have these adult lives now, and she kind of feels like a failure returning home even though she's excited to be back home. Not only have her friends all moved on, but they have added another member to their group that owns this bar, and they all love him, and Ross meets him in a very bad way. They do not have a meet cute. They kind of dislike each other, or at least Ross dislikes him. But then she gets a new phone because obviously she's back in London, needs a new phone, all those details. And so she decides to send out a mass text that basically says, hey, I'm back in London, this is my number, whatever. And when she does that, she connects with an ex that she has been in love with for the 3 years that she was gone. His name's Patrick, and she's convinced that he's the love of her life. You have this like beginning of a love-hate kind of thing with her and this new friend John that all of her friends are obsessed with. And then there's Patrick, and Patrick is the love of her life, potentially, all these things. So something that I really loved about this book is like clearly you can tell what's gonna happen, but I think like a quarter of the way through, or maybe 2 quarters in, halfway through, I was like, you know, I don't actually know who she's gonna end up with. Like, it feels like it could go this way, but it could also go this way. So I really appreciated the misdirect by the author, because I was like, honestly, I don't actually know where this is going, and that is really appreciated. Like, I was not expecting that. But the thing that like hit me in the heart so hard is that Ross is really struggling with nostalgia and being caught up in what her 20s were like and what it was like with her friends. And I am still in my 20s, but I find myself getting sad about like the college days and missing living with my friends all the time and like being with my friends constantly. And some days like that is hard for me. Like, I miss them a lot. I miss the way that my life used to look like. Not that I don't love what my life is like now, but I just miss those things. It's not something that I really think about too much. Like, I maybe will have a day, or I'll look through like my Snapchat memories or old photos or something, and then it kind of hits me hard. Reading this, there was some advice from the characters that was like exactly what I needed to hear, and very much like live in the moment, and in the future there will be good things too. And that was just like so comforting and healing to my soul. And so this book really surprised me. Like, definitely a 4-star read. And I am so surprised because I was not expecting that at all. Like, I honestly thought that I was going to DNF this book because I just was not feeling it, and like the British humor doesn't really vibe with me that well. I just wasn't convinced that I would like this one, but I'm so thankful that I kept reading it. And Ross, the main character, is also a podcaster, which I think is so fun because I'm a podcast producer. So having a romance novel where the main character is a podcast producer was just like an extra layer that I didn't know I needed, but really appreciated. Overall, 4 stars. The romance was very, very cute in this book, and it was kind of like just so soft and simple. And honestly, like, this book is a romance novel, but the romance was very subtle. Like, it wasn't as in your face as they usually are, I feel like. This just reminded me of when I fell in love with romance novels and the friend group, like her found little family with her friends. I always love and appreciate like a found family and a character that is just surrounded by good friends. So this book was so cute. 4 stars. And now I'm a little nervous because I have decided to dive in to a classic, and classics are very intimidating because you just don't know if you're gonna like them, and so many people love them. But I've decided to start reading Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, and I'm actually like 60 pages in, I think. And first of all, my edition of this is just absolutely beautiful. It even has a bookmark, and it's like a nice cloth cover, soft cover. So I just think it is adorable. But I have never read anything by Jane Austen, and that is saying something coming from an English major. Very excited, and so far I am enjoying it. I know a lot of people love Jane Austen, and I'm not quite there, but I'm still very much at the beginning, so I can't speak overly. But I'm actually gonna end this reading vlog because I am very excited about Onyx Storm releasing soon. I'm gonna end the video here and kind of make this like a little January wrap up, my January reads. And next time I see you guys, I'll be reading Onyx Storm, which I cannot wait for. I'm so excited for. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and just being a part of my little booktube channel. I appreciate all of you so much, and all of you new subscribers, thank you. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!